Battlefield 3 is one of the legendary entrances into the Battlefield franchise, and today I want to talk about a possible remaster of this classic game, what state it will come to us in, if it will come to us, and when it will come to us if it does. Now before we start, I just want to say that if you enjoy the video, make sure that you leave it a nice juicy like, and if you really enjoy this content, then make sure you subscribe to get more just like it. Like I said, I did play BF3 on my PC. Now, I'm not typically a PC gamer, so I used my controller, and I found out the hard way that there's no aim assist for controllers in BF3, so that is why the gameplay will be very mediocre today, if not borderline bad. Now, I will say either way, the game was fun, and that's one of the nice things about Battlefield 3. It is a very fun game, even if you're not playing well. Now, the reason for that, and the reason I want to point that out, is because the atmosphere is so good in this game. It's 9 years old, and I still really just feel like the atmosphere is fantastic. It's not better than BF1, but damn is it close. It's a really, really fun game to just jump in and play and just experience. That's the difference between a game like BF3 and BF5, is BF3 feels more like an experience as opposed to BF5, and this is only after 4 or 5 matches of this game. The game still is 9 years old, and it does have its problems. It's not perfect by any means, and it definitely shows its age, but it is definitely very authentic with its voice lines. The destruction looks very good. Maps like Sen Crossing, Metro, and Caspian Border are very fun to play, and it's just overall, it's just a really good Battlefield experience, and I really enjoyed it, despite not having any real competition as far as being able to compete with my gunplay, and despite being completely new to the game and having nothing unlocked. I still had a good time with it, and I would definitely play it again. It's one of those games that I had the itch to play it again after I just put it down, even though I didn't play great. Normally I don't feel that way, but this one I did have that. And that's just a testament to how good the game actually is and how much fun it is to just pick up and play and enjoy. Now, as far as the game showing its age, and believe me, it does show its age, the frame rate does stutter quite a bit. I couldn't get a full 60 frames per second on my PC, and my PC, it's not a lightweight, and it's also not a mega rig, but it is a good enough PC to run 60 frames on pretty much every game that I do play. And it would probably run even more frames if I hooked it up to a monitor that ran up to 144 frames a second. It would more than likely run with that. It's just the monitor that's attached to it only runs up to 60. And even then, I still couldn't go to full 60 frames per second. Now, there's also the issue of the 10 Hz servers. Those are going to be quite laggy, and that can affect the gameplay quite a bit. But like I said, you know, the atmosphere is so good, you won't even really notice it all that much. At least for me, I didn't. There's going to be times where you die around corners. In fact, it's going to happen quite often, and if you're used to those 60 Hz servers that are very consistent with their ability to have hit detection and things like that, it can be quite frustrating to come back to a 10 Hz server where things are not very consistent and it's kind of random and things just happen. That can be annoying. Now, if you've been playing since the beginning and you're just used to it, you probably won't notice it at all, but if you are a new player who wants to try Battlefield 3 for the first time, that could be something to watch out for, because it could be kind of annoying for you, but everyone's different. I think if you go in understanding that, it will be a lot less frustrating, but regardless, it does have its age issues. Now, another thing is the graphics. You'll obviously notice the graphics are older. It's not going to look as good as some of the newer games, but it still looks really good for a game that came out in 2011. You're not going to pick it up and play it and think, oh, this is an Xbox 360 game. It actually looks really good for a game that came out way back on the previous generation of consoles. It does hold up really well graphically. Now, it's not the most beautiful game in the world, but it's also not a blocky mess. Now, that being said, the game could definitely use a makeover, but is that a good idea, and is that even possible? In my opinion, I think a BF3 remaster is actually a really good idea. This is because of the state of the Battlefield community after the release of BF5. This game has divided the community more than I've seen since I've been a part of the Battlefield community. There's just decisions that are made that just split everyone in two, and some people really love it, some people really hate it, and a lot of people have just left entirely, and that's a problem. And I think a game like this, Battlefield 3, is just such a classic that I think it'll bring back a lot of those core players, and I also think that it will unite a lot of the community that is still here. Now, some people will say that instead of remastering Battlefield 3, why don't you just go and play Battlefield 4? And in a sense, I can see their argument. Both are modern shooters and both are Battlefield titles, but I think there is certain aspects to Battlefield 3 that are better overall, especially the atmosphere, and I think that's why a lot of people will still come back to a Battlefield 3 remaster. You also have to think about console players, as Battlefield 4 is still limited to 900p resolution on Xbox One and PS4, which I think a lot of those BF4 players will jump to a BF3 remaster if that is in full 4K on their PS4 Pro or Xbox One X, or even if it's just the base models of each and it's only in 1080p, that's still an upgrade over Battlefield 4's 900p. Now for PC players, again, that's going to be more of a taste thing. Obviously, you're going to want to jump into BF3 if you did play it a lot and you do really love that game. A BF3 remaster would of course appeal to you, but if you are just stuck on BF4 and you don't feel like dishing out more money to DICE for a BF3 remaster, again, that's up to the individual player. But I definitely think console players should and would jump at the opportunity for a BF3 remaster, especially to scratch that itch of a new modern Battlefield shooter, especially if it is revamped up to 4K with 60Hz servers and a new menu system, because Battlelog is not going to come back. It's just not, whether you like it or not, it's just not going to come back. They're not going to use that. I think this would be a fantastic way to go for DICE. Now, whether it's the most perfect decision ever or the worst decision ever to remaster Battlefield 3, that won't matter if it's not possible, and that's the big problem we'd run into here, is I just don't see this game being remastered as very possible. There's a couple of reasons why. Number one is definitely Battlefield 5. Once again, this game has been just playing catch up since before it even launched. From the reveal trailer all the way until now, it's just been behind on everything: content, bugs, stability, all kinds of things like that. It's just a game that doesn't run very smooth, and it hasn't had a whole lot of things go its way since the beginning. Now, because of that, DICE is, well, working hard on new content for the game and trying to fix the game and put it in a state where people will really enjoy it. Not that people don't enjoy it already, but a lot of people don't, and a lot of people have left the franchise because of this game. Now, that combined with a pandemic forcing DICE to work from home has slowed down the ongoing development of the game. They're already behind. Combine this with DICE also works on Star Wars Battlefront 2, and they're also working on an unannounced project. If you're not aware, guys like Daniel Berlin and Nicholas Astrand, who are big names in the Battlefield side of things at DICE, are working on an unannounced project that is most likely Battlefield 2021. So, if you weren't aware, that's what they're doing. Now, it's obviously not confirmed that that's the new Battlefield title, but, you know, if it looks like a fox, if it walks like a fox, it's probably a fox. So, I would imagine it's Battlefield 6. Now, with DICE working on 3 games at the same time in the middle of a pandemic that's going on and already slowing development, I just don't know where they would be able to pull the manpower to actually come in and remaster Battlefield 3 and, you know, put it in 4K, 60Hz servers, you know, change up the menu system, put UI customization in there. I don't know where they're going to pull the manpower from to do that when you're already behind on one game, probably behind on another, and you've got another game that's in full production mode still, pumping out new content every couple of months. I don't know where they're going to pull that from. Is it impossible that we see a Battlefield 3 remaster? No, it's not impossible, but I just don't see it as very likely considering the state of just everything right now, and especially DICE Studios. It's just something that I don't see as being very high on the priority list. So, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Remember that if you enjoyed, to leave it a nice, juicy like, and if you really, really enjoyed, make sure that you subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video.